Do you know Die Zähle in Nonnenwerth? One of those late elegy pieces?
Yes, they're all, I love them all. I love them all. You know,
I didn't discover it till this summer.
yeah.
That one of this, apparently he made 4 versions of it, and it's considered to be an elegy. But when I discovered this 4th version, I thought it was wonderful. And the whole, of course, it's nice to know the story that he was for 3 summers with the Countess on the island in the Rhine and in this convent, and with the prince who made the poetry, and he got so excited about the poetry. I'm going to write a piano piece, but then he must have liked it so much that there are 4 versions.
Yes.
I fell in love with the piece.
Yes, it's amazing how many pieces that, you know, we don't even know how many versions there were. We know, of course, the Transcendentals and so forth, those 3 versions. But Liszt, this man who is supposed to be, you know, merely a show-off and a great lover, you know, got up every morning at 5 o'clock and he's composing 1,400 works. Well, let me tell you, there's his main focus. And he, like Beethoven, every single work would germinate. It wouldn't be 1 version or 2. So I don't know how he did it all in 75 years, frankly.
Working so hard every day.
Every day.
And deciding, I'm going to transcribe the organ works of Bach. Why? We'll never hear these pieces. I better make a wonderful transcription.
Yeah, and he does a literal transcription. And then he can do, of course, the paraphrases, which he can, you know, take like Norma fantasy and make it better than the opera, and not even use the major work, the major aria Casta Diva. I mean, the man has so many wondrous, you know, movements in his life. And you know, how did you come by, because you sent me recently your 4 programs, your 4 Liszt programs.
Well, you know, any pianist, when they have to decide to play Liszt, they have their biases. Either you're a virtuoso and you want to spend all your time practicing all these fiendishly difficult pieces and put this whole smorgasbord of display pieces, or you want a little bit of this and a little bit of the late pieces, and you want, of course, any pianist who doesn't want to play the Liszt sonata, well, I don't understand that. Probably the greatest of the large works. And I basically just started to listen to a lot of pieces that I didn't know. I really wanted to hear all the poetic and religious harmonies, which we don't really hear.
No, we don't.
Much.
Just 2 at the most, yes.
Yeah, we had 2 at the most. So I just started listening to a lot of things that I didn't know, because growing up I didn't learn as much Liszt as Chopin.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
We always study much more Chopin than Liszt, and plenty of Schumann.
Yeah, and Liszt's reputation has been much slower in coming, you know, thank goodness you did this, you know, homage to him, because
we're most indebted to him than anybody else.
There'd be no career, there'd be no Juilliard, there'd be
nothing,
no calls. He is the germinative force of the modern career. Yes, of course, and you know that. You know, we were having dinner recently, and I remember, you know, because this is important to me, this idea of discrimination. And I was saying I did a Liszt lecture, and this woman played La Lugubre Gondola 1. And on his programs is number 2, and instantly he said something that he would know that I would understand. And that was, oh, number 2 is much better.
But why do you find it more difficult for the public, you said, or something's more challenging, or more austere?
Yeah, it's more austere, and it's more modern in the sense, and radical, that it's a total piece of discontinuity in design. And harmonic design and so forth. The other one has its beginning, its middle, and its end, and it's poignant, and it's beautiful. But this is a new departure into new areas of music, and that's one of the things I love. The list of each period is so wonderful. There's no such thing. And Copland agreed with me when I was speaking this. He said, every piece Liszt wrote has something of interest in it, and I can't understand why he's not considered what he should be.
Yes, so the most unjustly underestimated.
Yeah, it could be, you know, a reservoir that has continued of the immense envy. How could you be so many wonderful things? And I go, you know, in my lectures on Liszt, I will go and say something this as outlandish as this: the greatest life ever lived.
The pride process is always the thrill.
The process,
To
yes.
find a piece that you thought, well, I don't really like playing the Dante Sonata, but then you get into it and you say, well, as you said in your book, in a great performance, the Dante Sonata is another matter.
Yes, in my class, someone said, I hate the Dante Sonata, composer actually in my class. And I said, it doesn't matter what you feel about it. It remains in its way a masterpiece.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, the way,
so many.
my feeling. It doesn't matter
It's
what
not
you think.
us, yes.
It is. It is an essence of a certain kind of romanticism, that Byronic, lurid romanticism, melodrama. Anyway,
I had a great time hearing that the general public in the beginning of the summer said, oh, I didn't like Liszt, but now that I hear so many different things, and of course, what did I get the most emails and phone calls from? The late pieces. Just to sit down and hear a collection of 3-minute, a woman said to me, they're like short stories, and I can't make heads or tails of them, the way they just drift away, and suddenly I'm in another very obscure mood, but they're so short, and yet they're so minimal. Well, I never knew that Liszt wrote, and it was a revelation to so many people.
these great elegiac works are amazing. And, Wagner himself thought Liszt is mad. See, Wagner couldn't understand any of this music. That's why I call it the most radical music of its time. It's just fabulous. Someone said something that I never forgot, and you made me think of it when you said drifting. Someone said that these pieces are literally Liszt's portrait of old age itself. You go on, you start here, you move here, the harmony moves in a shifting way you don't expect, the ambiguity of the tonality. It's not just, he's trying to, end, the tonal
No, that's
system.
that's his state where he's come to, like Brahms at the end of his life, resigned and a certain peace, but yet kind of searching for and looking
Almost
ahead.
like a new strangeness in his music, the late Brahms. And Liszt is, the Valse oubliée, and it starts this, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't. Where is that going? Oh my goodness, I'm dozing off and dreaming of a beautiful woman I danced with 40 years ago. Valse oubliée, forgotten waltz. What do these titles mean?
Yeah.
La lugubre gondola. He sees his own
Great
son-in-law.
clouds.
Great clouds. When Debussy heard it and Stravinsky, they were stunned. Oh, on and on. There's so many of them.
En rêve, dreaming.
Yeah, from the Hungarian Rhapsodies, he'll go to later the Chardas Macabre or the Chardas Obstiné. I mean, but God, it's like, Bartók is beginning. It's fantastic.
Wonderful.
So, it's good to talk about him, and, there's too many prejudices. So I know that, you're a great teacher, and I'm sure that you make sure that people that can at least will play Liszt properly.
Yes, because still, for the uninformed, he suffers with that horrible image of a very shallow individual. And if they only knew, probably the most well-read individual of the 19th century, definitely of all the great composers and pianists.
When they talk about, Schumann as the great critic, and you really dig into the way Liszt sees music and understands it, you say, my God, there's the great critic. He was everything. So we owe him a great deal, not just because he was this great concert pianist, but because just look at the invention of the symphonic poem. It had to be. I often say, how did it take so long for the idea in a literary century to keep writing like Mendelssohn or Schumann, four-movement symphonies? One in this, even Berlioz, was hampered by it in the Symphonie Fantastique. So here he says, my goodness, I'm not interested in sonata allegro form for this and then a slow movement. He says, I'm interested in the mood of Lamartine's poem, Les Préludes, or how I'm going to depict Hamlet or Tasso, because he paints the world.
Yes.
You see, and he's not the big ego or the pained man like Chopin. Oh, my country. Oh, my coughing. No, he says dreams of love, benedictions to God, dances of gnomes, forest murmurs. It's all a picture of the world, tot and tans. He sees a great a painting in the Louvre, and in Milan. He says, "I too am a painter." He was something, wasn't he?
I love Sposalizio from those Italian years.
And the Raphael,
Just to think that Raphael is painting inspired that.